A woman wearing an $8,000 Armani power suit walked confidently into Judge Judy's courtroom like she owned the building and everyone in it. On her head sat designer Cartier sunglasses worth more than most people's monthly rent. In her hand, she clutched a black Birkin bag that could have fed a family for 6 months. And in her ear, a Bluetooth earpiece blinked as she took yet another phone call, speaking loudly about production schedules and million-dollar deals as if the court proceedings were merely an inconvenient interruption to her busy day. This woman's name was Karen Mitchell, and she was one of Hollywood's most powerful reality television producers. Her company had created 7 hit shows that dominated cable networks, and she had personally launched the careers of dozens of influencers and reality stars who now had millions of followers. She controlled access to fame, and she knew it. Karen was there because she was suing a former contestant from her most popular show, a young woman named Maria Rodriguez. Karen claimed Maria had violated a non-disclosure agreement by exposing on social media that the reality show was completely scripted, that contestants were emotionally manipulated for ratings, and that Karen herself had threatened and bullied cast members behind the scenes. Karen was demanding $50,000 in damages for what she called breach of contract and defamation. She believed this would be simple. Walk in, intimidate some nobody, collect her money, and send a message to anyone else who might think about crossing her. After all, she was Karen Mitchell. She made careers happen with a phone call and destroyed them just as easily. However, as Judge Judy began reviewing the shocking details of the case, she discovered that Karen had a documented history of abusive behavior toward contestants. She had created fake storylines designed to humiliate vulnerable people. She had threatened careers and livelihoods. She had turned real human beings into props for her entertainment empire. But Karen made a catastrophic mistake that would shock the entire courtroom and destroy everything she had built over 15 years in television. While Judge Judy was speaking, explaining the court procedures with her characteristic dignity and authority, Karen interrupted her multiple times, talked over her, and treated the judge like she was just another employee on one of her production sets. And then, in a moment of pure arrogance that would be replayed millions of times across every social media platform, Karen stood up, pointed her perfectly manicured finger directly at Judge Judy, and screamed at the top of her lungs, "You're nothing without this show." What happened next wasn't just justice. It was the complete and total dismantling of a Hollywood bully who had spent years believing that money and power placed her above accountability. If you have watched this far, don't miss the end of the video. Like the video, sit back, and enjoy listening to the story because what you are about to witness will be the most expensive tantrum in television history. This outburst will cost the producer everything she has spent her entire career building. Tuesday afternoon, 2:30 in the afternoon, Judge Judy's courtroom in Los Angeles. The bailiff calls out Mitchell versus Rodriguez. Karen Mitchell enters the courtroom talking loudly on her Bluetooth earpiece, her voice echoing off the walls with the confidence of someone who has never been told no in her entire professional life. "I'll handle this joke of a case in 20 minutes and be back at the office for the 4 o'clock pitch meeting with the network executives," she says into her phone, completely ignoring everyone around her. She doesn't acknowledge Judge Judy initially. She doesn't offer any basic courtesy or respect. She treats the courtroom exactly like she treats everyone in her life, as if they exist solely to serve her convenience. Behind her, Maria Rodriguez enters nervously. She's a young woman in her late 20s, wearing a simple dress from a department store, clearly uncomfortable in this formal setting. Her hands shake slightly as she takes her seat at the defendant's table. You can see in her eyes that she's intimidated, that she spent months being afraid of this exact moment, afraid of facing the woman who had so much power over her life. Judge Judy looks up from her bench with the dignity and respect she shows to all who enter her courtroom, regardless of their attitude or status. "Good afternoon, Ms. Mitchell," she says in her clear, authoritative voice. Karen is still on her phone, holding up one finger in a wait gesture as if Judge Judy were an assistant interrupting an important call. "Yeah, hold on one second," Karen says into her Bluetooth, then glances at Judge Judy with barely concealed impatience. "Hi, can we make this quick? I have actual important meetings scheduled for this afternoon." Judge Judy's expression tightens almost imperceptibly. Ms. Mitchell, turn off your phone and remove that earpiece. This is a courtroom, not your production office. Karen lets out an exaggerated sigh, slowly removes her Bluetooth with theatrical reluctance, and drops it into her expensive bag. Fine, whatever, she responds dismissively. Not your honor. Not any acknowledgement of proper courtroom protocol. Just the casual disrespect of someone who believes her wealth and status exempt her from the basic rules that govern everyone else. Judge Judy maintains her professional composure despite the blatant disrespect, her decades of experience allowing her to remain calm in the face of arrogance she has seen countless times before. Ms. Mitchell, you're suing Ms. Rodriguez for $50,000, claiming breach of contract and defamation. You allege that she violated a non-disclosure agreement by posting about your television show on social media. Is that correct? Karen straightens in her chair with the posture of someone preparing to deliver a speech she has rehearsed many times. That's absolutely correct, Your Honor. Maria signed a legally binding contract when she agreed to appear on my show, Reality Renovations. That contract explicitly prohibited her from discussing any aspect of production, and she violated that agreement by posting lies and defamatory statements on Instagram and Twitter. She damaged my reputation and the reputation of my company, and I'm here to hold her accountable. Judge Judy turns her attention to Maria, who looks like she might be sick at any moment. Ms. Rodriguez, what's your response to these allegations? Maria's voice trembles as she speaks. Your Honor, everything I posted was true. The show was completely fake. They scripted every argument and every emotional breakdown. They told us exactly what to say and how to act. And when I wanted to quit because it was affecting my mental health, Ms. Mitchell personally threatened to sue me and destroy any chance I had of ever working in this city again. Karen actually laughs, a sharp sound filled with condescension that makes several people in the courtroom shift uncomfortably. Your Honor, with all due respect, you don't understand how television production works. Reality television has always involved some level of production and guidance. Everyone knows that. Maria is just upset because her 15 minutes of fame are over and she's trying to stay relevant by creating controversy. Judge Judy's voice becomes noticeably firmer. Ms. Mitchell, I've been on television for 25 years. Don't presume to lecture me about how the industry works. But Karen continues as if Judge Judy hadn't spoken, her arrogance preventing her from recognizing the warning signs. This girl was absolutely nothing before my show. She was working at a diner, serving pancakes to truck drivers. I plucked her from complete obscurity. I made her Instagram followers go from 2,000 to 200,000. I gave her opportunities she never would have had in a million years. And this is how she repays me. By going online and spreading vicious lies. She leans forward, her voice rising with righteous indignation. I create stars, Your Honor. I take nobodies and turn them into somebodies. But I can also destroy them just as easily. And when someone signs a contract with me, they honor that contract. That's how business works. Judge Judy's expression has shifted from patient to distinctly unimpressed. Ms. Mitchell, let me see this non-disclosure agreement you keep referencing. Karen's lawyer, who has been sitting quietly beside her, quickly produces the document and hands it to the bailiff, who delivers it to Judge Judy. As the judge reviews the contract, Karen cannot resist adding more commentary. You'll see it's completely standard, Your Honor. Every reality show uses similar agreements. Maria knew exactly what she was signing. She was so desperate to be on television that she would have signed anything I put in front of her. Maria speaks up, her voice stronger now despite her obvious fear. That's not true. They told me the show would help me start my catering business. They promised it would be a positive experience. They never told me they would edit everything to make me look like a terrible person. They never told me I would have to scream at people and throw things for their cameras. Karen rolls her eyes dramatically. Oh, please. You loved every second of being on camera until the show ended and you realized you weren't going to become the next big influencer. Now you're bitter and looking for a payday. Judge Judy sets down the contract and looks directly at Maria. Ms. Rodriguez, do you have any evidence to support your claims about how you were treated during production? Maria nods quickly, reaching into her bag. Yes, Your Honor. I recorded some of what happened on my phone because I knew no one would believe me otherwise. She hands her phone to her lawyer, who connects it to the courtroom's display system. Karen's confidence doesn't waver even slightly. In fact, she looks almost amused, as if whatever Maria has recorded will only prove Karen's point about dramatic contestants seeking attention. The video begins playing on the monitors throughout the courtroom, and within seconds, the atmosphere changes completely. The footage shows Karen on set, but not the composed professional she presents in public. This is Karen behind the scenes, her mask removed, revealing the person she becomes when she believes no one important is watching. Her voice comes through the speakers, screaming at Maria with a fury that makes people in the courtroom visibly recoil. You do exactly what I tell you, or I will bury you. Do you understand me? I will destroy you. In the video, Maria is crying, clearly distressed, trying to explain something, but Karen cuts her off viciously. I don't care about your feelings. I don't care if you're uncomfortable. You think you can work in this town after crossing me? I'll make sure you never work again. You're nothing but a prop in my show. You exist because I allow you to exist. The courtroom sits in absolute stunned silence as the video continues playing. The footage shows Karen turning to her production staff, her voice cold and calculating as she gives instructions that reveal the true nature of her operation. I don't care if she's crying. Actually, the crying is perfect. Make her do the scene again while she's emotional. Crying is excellent for ratings. Our audience loves watching people break down. In the background of the video, several staff members exchange uncomfortable glances, clearly disturbed by what they're witnessing but too afraid to speak up. The video shows Maria trembling, mascara running down her face, trying to compose herself while Karen circles her like a predator. You signed a contract, sweetie. That means you belong to me for the duration of this production. You'll do exactly what I script, exactly how I script it, or you'll spend the next 5 years paying off the lawsuit I'll file against you. Do we understand each other? The video ends, and Judge Judy pauses it, her expression unreadable but her eyes sharp as steel. The courtroom remains silent, everyone processing what they just witnessed. Karen, however, looks completely unbothered. She's checking her watch as if this is just another tedious meeting cutting into her valuable time. Judge Judy speaks with deliberate calm, the kind of calm that veteran courtroom observers recognize as far more dangerous than shouting. Ms. Mitchell, you just watched yourself threaten this young woman's career and psychologically abuse her on camera. What exactly is your explanation for this behavior? Karen shrugs with casual indifference that seems almost sociopathic given what everyone has just seen. Your Honor, that's just how the entertainment industry works. If you can't handle the pressure and the demands of television production, then you shouldn't sign up for reality television. I was passionate about creating good content. Sometimes you need to be firm with people who don't understand the creative vision. She leans back in her chair, crossing her legs with supreme confidence. I was motivating her to give her best performance. This is show business, not kindergarten. People need thick skin to succeed in this industry, and clearly Maria doesn't have what it takes. Judge Judy's voice becomes noticeably colder. Firm. You told her she was nothing and that she existed only because you allowed it. You threatened to destroy her career if she didn't comply with your demands. Karen waves her hand dismissively. I was motivating her through tough love. Besides, she got paid for her appearance. She gained 200,000 Instagram followers. She got exactly what she wanted, which was fame and attention. What exactly is she complaining about? Judge Judy leans forward, her gaze locked onto Karen with an intensity that would make most people extremely uncomfortable. Ms. Mitchell, do you believe that paying someone gives you the right to psychologically abuse them? Karen actually laughs, a sound so filled with condescension that it makes several people in the gallery gasp. Abuse? Your Honor, with all due respect, you've been on television for decades. Surely you understand that television requires a certain edge, a certain intensity to create compelling content. You literally built an entire career on being tough on people who come into your courtroom. The comparison hangs in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Judge Judy's expression hardens into something carved from granite. Ms. Mitchell, I hold people accountable for their actions and their lies. I don't emotionally manipulate vulnerable people for profit. There's a significant difference. But Karen is on a roll now, her arrogance reaching levels that seem almost suicidal given the situation. She stands up, pointing her finger at Judge Judy with theatrical aggression. Oh, please. Let's be honest here. You yell at people on television every single day. You humiliate them in front of millions of viewers for ratings. You make people cry, you mock them, you tear apart their stories. The courtroom erupts in shocked murmurs. The bailiff takes a step forward, ready to intervene. Maria covers her mouth with both hands, unable to believe what she's hearing. But Karen isn't finished. She's gone too far to stop now, her ego and her fury combining into a toxic cocktail of self-destruction. The only real difference between us is that I'm honest about what I do. I don't pretend it's about justice or fairness or holding people accountable. You sit up there on your throne and you destroy people for entertainment, and then you collect your paycheck and pretend you're some kind of moral authority. Her voice rises to a shout that echoes off every wall in the courtroom. Let's be real here. You're nothing without this show. Without these cameras and this courtroom set, you'd be just some retired judge that nobody remembers or cares about. You need these people to yell at. You need these cases to judge. You're no different from me. The courtroom explodes into chaos. Audience members shout in outrage. The bailiff moves quickly toward Karen. Judge Judy rises from her bench, standing at her full height, her presence commanding instant silence despite the pandemonium. Her face shows no anger, no rage, just an ice-cold certainty that makes the temperature in the room seem to drop 10 degrees. Sit down, Ms. Mitchell, Judge Judy says, her voice cutting through the noise like a blade through silk. Karen remains standing, her chest heaving with adrenaline and misplaced confidence, a smirk still playing at the corners of her mouth. Why? Did I hit a nerve, Your Honor? You can dish it out, but you can't take it when someone points out the truth about your little empire. Judge Judy's voice becomes deadly quiet, the kind of quiet that makes everyone in the courtroom lean forward to hear every single word. I said sit down, Ms. Mitchell, or I will have you removed from this courtroom for contempt of court. Karen slowly lowers herself back into her chair, crossing her arms across her chest like a petulant child being forced to sit in timeout. Her smirk hasn't faded. If anything, it has grown wider, as if she believes she's won some kind of victory by getting under Judge Judy's skin. Whatever. Can we just get to the part where you rule in my favor so I can get back to my actual job? Judge Judy remains standing, her hands placed flat on the bench in front of her, her eyes never leaving Karen's face. Ms. Mitchell, in 25 years on this bench, I have seen bullies, I have seen liars, and I have seen manipulators. I have seen people try every tactic imaginable to avoid responsibility for their actions. But you might be the most delusional, self-absorbed, and genuinely cruel person who has ever stood before me. Karen opens her mouth to interrupt, but Judge Judy's hand rises sharply. You had your chance to speak, Ms. Mitchell. In fact, you've done nothing but speak since you walked through that door. Now you're going to be quiet, and you're going to listen to me for once in your privileged life. The courtroom is so silent that you could hear a pin drop. Every eye is fixed on Judge Judy, whose authority fills every corner of the space. You seem to believe that having money and power gives you the right to treat human beings as disposable props in your entertainment empire. You seem to think that because someone signs a contract, you own them body and soul. You seem to think that paying someone gives you permission to abuse them, threaten them, and destroy their mental health for your profit. Karen cannot resist interrupting despite the warning. She signed a contract. A legally binding contract. Judge Judy's voice cuts through Karen's objection like a knife. Quiet. I'm not finished. Your non-disclosure agreement is worthless, Ms. Mitchell. Absolutely worthless. Contracts that require people to remain silent about workplace abuse, harassment, and illegal activities are unenforceable under California law. Any first-year law student knows this, which makes me wonder what kind of lawyers you've been paying all these years. Karen's face begins to show the first cracks in her confident facade. That's absurd. My legal team assured me that contract was ironclad. Judge Judy picks up the document and holds it up for the courtroom to see. Your legal team either lied to you or you didn't listen to them. This contract attempts to silence Ms. Rodriguez about what amounts to workplace harassment, intimidation, and psychological abuse. It's not worth the paper it's printed on. Judge Judy sets the contract down and delivers her ruling with the precision of a surgeon making an incision. Not only am I dismissing your frivolous lawsuit against Ms. Rodriguez, I am awarding her $50,000 in emotional distress damages, to be paid by you personally, not by your production company. Karen jumps to her feet so fast her chair nearly topples backward. What? You cannot do that. You have no authority to award damages in a case where I'm the plaintiff. Judge Judy's expression doesn't change by even a millimeter. I just did. Sit down. We're not finished here. Karen remains standing, her hands clenched into fists, her face turning red with a mixture of rage and something that might be actual fear beginning to creep in at the edges. This is judicial overreach. This is bias. You're punishing me because I told you the truth about your show. Judge Judy continues as if Karen hasn't spoken. Furthermore, I am ordering a complete copy of these proceedings, including the video evidence of your threatening and abusive behavior, to be forwarded immediately to the California Labor Board, the Screen Actors Guild, and every single network that currently has production contracts with your company. The color drains from Karen's face completely. Her mouth opens and closes, but for the first time since entering the courtroom, no words come out. Those organizations have a right to know about your conduct and your methods. They have a right to investigate whether you have created a hostile and abusive work environment. They have a right to determine whether other contestants and employees have been subjected to similar treatment. Karen finds her voice again, and it comes out as almost a scream. You can't destroy my career over one disgruntled contestant. I have lawyers. I have connections in this industry. I'll appeal this decision. I'll take this to every court in California. Judge Judy's response is delivered with perfect, devastating calm. You can appeal anything you want, Ms. Mitchell. You can hire every lawyer in Los Angeles. But the video evidence speaks for itself. Your own words, your own actions, recorded for everyone to see exactly who you are when you think no one important is watching. Karen's hands are shaking now, her carefully constructed image of control completely shattered. You're just jealous. You're jealous because my shows get better ratings than this courtroom circus. You're jealous because I actually create content that people want to watch instead of just judging people from up on your high horse. Judge Judy's voice becomes soft, which somehow makes her words even more powerful. Ms. Mitchell, you tried to compare yourself to me earlier. You suggested that we're the same, that we both humiliate people for entertainment. So let me explain the difference to you very clearly. I hold people accountable for their lies, their irresponsibility, and their attempts to cheat others. I give them a chance to tell the truth, to take responsibility, to show remorse. And yes, when they refuse to do any of those things, I let them know exactly what I think of their behavior. She pauses, letting her words sink in. You, on the other hand, take vulnerable people who are desperate for opportunities, and you manipulate them, threaten them, and psychologically abuse them for profit. You create fake drama and emotional trauma, and then you hide behind contracts and lawyers when your victims try to speak out. You're right about one thing, Ms. Mitchell. I am nothing without this show. This show that has run for 25 years because it's built on fairness, honesty, and treating people with basic human dignity even while holding them accountable. You, on the other hand, are nothing without your bullying, your threats, and your ability to prey on people who have less power than you. And now everyone is going to know exactly what kind of person you really are. Judge Judy delivers her final words with absolute finality. Judgment for the defendant, Ms. Rodriguez, in the amount of $50,000. My previous orders regarding notification of relevant authorities stand. Ms. Mitchell, get out of my courtroom. The bailiff approaches Karen, who is still standing frozen in place, her entire world crumbling around her in real time. She opens her mouth one more time, trying to find words that will somehow undo this catastrophe, but nothing comes out. As she's escorted toward the door, she suddenly finds her voice again, screaming over her shoulder. This isn't over. I'll sue you. I'll sue this network. My lawyers will tear this judgment apart. You have no idea who you're dealing with. But Judge Judy has already moved on to her next case, dismissing Karen's threats with the same importance she would give to a fly buzzing near her bench. Within 2 hours of Karen leaving the courtroom, video clips of her meltdown were trending on every social media platform in existence. The footage of her screaming at Judge Judy, combined with the behind-the-scenes video of her abusing Maria, spread across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook like wildfire. Hashtag Karen vs. Judy became the #1 trending topic worldwide. The comments section filled with thousands of people sharing their own stories about Karen's abusive behavior. Former contestants from her shows came forward with similar accounts of manipulation, threats, and psychological abuse. 3 major networks suspended their production contracts with Karen's company before the end of the business day. By the next morning, 2 more networks had completely cancelled upcoming shows that Karen was supposed to produce. The Screen Actors Guild announced a formal investigation into workplace conditions on all of Karen's productions. 10 former employees filed official complaints detailing hostile work environments and harassment. Within 1 week, Karen Mitchell's production company had lost over $15 million in contracts. Her flagship show, Reality Renovations, was cancelled mid-season. Her business partners began distancing themselves, issuing statements about how shocked they were to learn about her methods. Her company filed for bankruptcy within a month. Meanwhile, Maria Rodriguez's small catering business was flooded with supportive orders from people who had seen the courtroom video. She received enough donations to start a non-profit organization dedicated to helping reality television contestants deal with the psychological trauma of manipulative production practices. She became an advocate and a voice for people who had been exploited by an industry that valued drama over human dignity. Karen Mitchell walked into Judge Judy's courtroom believing that her money, her connections, and her power made her untouchable. She believed that she could bully her way through the legal system the same way she bullied everyone else in her life. She walked out with her career in ruins, her reputation destroyed, and her empire crumbling, all because she made one catastrophic mistake. She forgot that respect isn't purchased with money or intimidated into existence with threats. She forgot that eventually, someone stands up and says enough. And she forgot that when you spend your entire career treating people like they're nothing, eventually someone reminds you what nothing actually looks like. Sometimes the biggest bullies in the world learn the hardest lessons. Sometimes justice isn't just about legal rulings and financial damages. Sometimes justice is watching someone who has spent years hurting others finally face the consequences they've avoided for so long. And sometimes, the most satisfying moment is watching someone who thought they were untouchable discover that nobody is above accountability. If you enjoyed watching Entitled Arrogance Meet Real Justice, support me by liking and subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. My loyal viewers, see you in the next video. Stay healthy.